like half the gold for your expo because of the cancel. And he's already started his attack, Axelav has, but actually Sanki has as well. That was risky, he almost got his fiend surrounded. But, dodging surrounds is pretty tricky against someone who's good at surrounds. So, keep that in mind, is that you don't want to lose too many units, ever. Ever, because you don't want to trade a fiend for a footy, obviously. So, you just gotta make sure that you know when something's going to be beneficial for you. So, that's part of knowing the value of units, I guess. Like, when it comes to Orc, if you lose a grunt to pick off 2 peasants, you're kind of down. But if those 2 peasants are the only 2 peasants left building an expo, then you've kind of gained a time advantage, plus you gained a tech advantage, stuff like that. So it becomes very situational when to trade and when not to trade. What Axelav is it going to do? Oh, I didn't mention this earlier. He sold his TP because he was going for an early game oriented advantage, which means he's going to get his expo up and have enough lumber to tech fast enough to keep up with Sanki and have it not be too much of a problem. And what he's going to do is he's actually going to set up a second expo in mid-tech. And the reason that you can do this is because with the Crypt Lord you have so many summons. Oh, let's see these beetles. 275. That was close. But yeah, with the beetles, what it allows you to do is stay in battles a lot longer, and especially with the Rod of Necromancy, you get an extra, I believe, 320. No, that's not it. 360 HP up front with 1 armor. Plus you have your beetles, which are basically an unlimited supply. So what you're going to end up doing is you're going to be able to out-attrition them with less gold, which ends up being bad for the human player. And yeah, basically you end up gaining more of an advantage, even if you have less of an army. And you'll notice he's already set up his Necropolis, which is in a pretty good position just because if you TP, you're going to catch them in the river, which is downhill from the hill. And if you're going range units, which he's obviously going fiends, actually even if you're not going range units, it ends up being beneficial for you because you can actually micro things up the hill and they won't be able to kill it. So that's pretty important. Plus, until they get there, they can't really see you. Yeah. So he's setting up his second expo. And generally this is what people don't do against human, which is play like a human against a human. So, yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind. Good spot for the for one of his beetles is he kept it there just to make sure he doesn't get jacked. That's pretty smart. I generally do something like that if I'm creeping a difficult camp. I use a sentry ward or a summon. He loses a fiend, that's a bummer. But he's going to get 2 footy kills out of this. And you'll notice the ramp is playing a good part, just because he gets a bunch of free damage off these footies while he tries to run up the ramp and not get a bunch of misses. And everybody likes the misses. No, yeah, so the Archmage is actually taking a lot of damage, which is too bad for Sanki, but Necropolis goes up, and generally you don't want to keep focusing something that isn't 100% important. I mean, it is important, but it isn't. Good time to use the heal stone, the health stone. Gets the kill on the water elemental. I believe that's level 5, yeah. Level 5 is pretty important because you get your level 3 beetles, which is even more of a pain. Now, I'm not sure what the Archmage was doing. I believe that was a mistake and a misclick and a bunch of other things. But he ends up getting a staff. And gets out of there. Too bad. Oh well. So Axelav's already hitting up to level 3, and what he's doing is he's going to set up a Temple of the Damned. He's already set up his slaughterhouse. And you're probably wondering, why would you set up a Temple of the Damned and a slaughterhouse? Is he going to Necro Wagon? Well, no, he's going to do something similar, but he's not actually going to Necro Wagon per se. The only time you would actually Necro Wagon is if they're going mass tanks. And you can tell if they're going mass tanks by just scouting with a shade. Excuse me. and going, okay, they have 3 workshops, and they're pumping out tanks. I mean, you just kind of camp a unit there until it's done. Or, yeah, just camp your shade there until you figure out what he's doing. And then you're probably in good shape to figure out what he's doing. If he's doing gyrocopters, which is what Sonki's doing now, what you can expect is either knights and gyrocopters, or the gyrocopters and griffins. I believe they're flying machines now, actually. Wow, I'm hella old school. Yeah, flying machines. Yay. So, anyways, what you're going to do with the strategies, you're actually going to, sort of like the Blade Master, is you're just going to pimp out your Crypt Lord as much as possible, obviously. But what you're actually going to do is you're going to go for Frenzied Frostworms, which is very difficult to beat, actually, as a human player. What you need is, like, Breakers and Dragonhawks, mostly. And, yeah, it's a real pain to beat, which is why I love this strategy. And plus, if you have a pretty good mana pool on your Necromancers, or you're getting a lot more Necromancers than you are Fiends, then what you're going to end up doing is you're going to be able to use Cripple, which is great against Knights and Griffins, especially if they don't have Dispel. And if they do have Dispel, you might as well just get a couple Priests, and, or not a couple, what am I talking about? A couple Destroyers, and you should be able to cancel out whatever his Priests have to offer, because generally what they're going to do is they're either going to go for just Dispel or Heal, which is sort of useless, or they're going to go for Inner Fire, so you want to be able to prepare for Inner Fire. Yes, this audio isn't actually, like, the subtleties of the strategy, it's more like, you know, how to adapt this strategy on Lost Temple, because a lot of Lost Temple is actually adapting, and it's very macro-based, so that's one thing to keep in mind. And you'll notice he's already casted Unholy Frenzy on the Crypt Lord, which has 2 Blades of Attack, and it's got plus 18 damage. And when it picks up an orb, it's going to be like plus 3,000 damage. So, oddly enough, he fights this battle. I would have TP'd, especially when the Book of the Dead gets used. Nice burrow on the Fiend. Unfortunately, it gets revealed, so they kind of die. Plus, he loses his statue. So, what he's doing is he's sort of trying to play the attrition game and get a hero kill. Try to get something beneficial. So, in my opinion, I think he should have TP'd a little earlier. That's what I would have done. I guess I'm a little more paranoid. But what he was trying to do is actually kind of make up for the fact that he has to TP by getting a couple unit kills, which didn't work out for him, but it's sort of the risk you have to take. He picks up a Dreadlord Third. Dreadlord Third is pretty important just because it allows you to nuke heroes and actually, well, nuke heroes, I'm going to use that term loosely. And basically what it allows him to do is actually, like, sleep the paladin and then right-click a hero. That's what I mean by nuke heroes. Or sleep the MK, run things away, stuff like that. Oh, that rhymed. How odd. But, yes, he's going to continue to get Necromancers and stuff like that. Let's see, what was I going to say? Oh, he's going to also get Frost.